You know what's funny? The most ambitious people you will ever meet are also some of the most couch-bound, Netflix-watching, deadline-missing, tomorrow-promising people on the planet. And the most terrifying thing about that sentence is that you already know exactly who I'm talking about, because you're one of them, and so am I. So before this video goes any further, I need you to stop pretending that you just need more motivation, because motivation is not your problem. Your brain is. You're sitting there right now. You have a list. You have a dream. You have a plan so detailed it exists in 4 different notebooks, 2 apps, and a sticky note on your mirror. And yet, you haven't moved. Not today. Maybe not this week. Maybe you're watching this instead of doing the thing you swore you'd start yesterday. And the strangest part, you're not okay with it. You're burning. You want it so badly it physically hurts, but your body won't move. Your brain won't let you start. That's not laziness. That's something far more complicated. And the science behind it will change how you see yourself forever. Here's what nobody tells you. Laziness and ambition are not opposites. They are, in fact, 2 symptoms of the exact same brain. Psychologists have been studying this paradox for decades. People who dream the biggest, who feel the most burning desire, who have the highest standards for their future, these are the same people most likely to freeze, most likely to procrastinate, most likely to be lying on the couch at 11 p.m. staring at the ceiling, hating themselves for not starting. You are not broken. Your brain is playing a longer game than you realize. But here's the problem. The game is running out of time. Let's go back to the beginning. Not your beginning. The beginning. For the vast majority of human history, rest was not laziness. It was survival. Your ancestors lived in a world where energy was scarce, food was unpredictable. The difference between moving and not moving could mean the difference between life and death. So your brain evolved a very specific system, a built-in energy conservator. It learned to resist effort unless the reward was clear, immediate, and guaranteed. Evolutionary psychologist David Buss at the University of Texas calls this the conservation of energy hypothesis. Your brain was literally wired to do nothing when the outcome is uncertain. Now fast forward to today, you want to build a business, you want to write a book, you want to get in shape, you want to change your life, but your brain looks at these goals and sees something terrifying. The reward is not clear. The reward is not immediate. The reward is absolutely not guaranteed. And so it does exactly what it was built to do. It stalls. It delays. It finds something easier, something safer, something that gives a smaller, faster hit of dopamine, a scroll, a snack, a show. And you sit there, ambitious and paralyzed at the same time. This is not a character flaw. This is ancient programming fighting a modern battlefield. But here's where it gets more interesting and more urgent. Dr. Timothy Seikel at Carleton University has spent over 20 years studying procrastination. His finding will hit different than you expect. Procrastination is not a time management problem. It is an emotion management problem. When you avoid your work, you are not choosing comfort over effort. You are choosing short-term emotional relief over long-term gain. Your brain senses the anxiety, the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of discovering that maybe you're not as talented as you hope, and it runs. It does not run because it is weak. It runs because it is protecting you. The same brain protecting you is also destroying your future. Think about that for a second. Your brain is working against you with the best intentions. Now, the people who understand this, the ones who see what their brain is doing and choose to move anyway, these are not more talented than you. They are not more disciplined. They have simply learned one thing you haven't yet. They learned that the feeling you're waiting for, the motivation, the inspiration, the readiness, it doesn't come before action. It comes after. Always after. Dr. B.J. Fogg at Stanford University's Behavior Design Lab spent years studying what actually changes human behavior. Not willpower, not motivation. Those come and go like weather. What actually works is making the starting action so small that your brain's threat detector doesn't even register it. You want to write a book? Your brain panics. But can you write one sentence? Your brain says fine. One sentence leads to 2. 2 leads to 10. And suddenly the resistance drops and the work begins, not because you summoned some mystical motivation, because you tricked an ancient survival system into letting you move. But here's the part that should make your skin crawl with urgency. Every single day you wait, something is happening that you cannot see and cannot reverse. Neuroscientists call it neural pathway calcification. The patterns you reinforce today, the habit of stopping, the habit of scrolling, the habit of waiting, they are being carved deeper and deeper into your brain's architecture. Right now, while you're watching this, while you're not starting, The longer you wait, the harder the starting becomes. Not because you're getting lazier, because your brain is literally restructuring itself around the patterns you're feeding it. You are training your brain every single day. The question is, what you're training it to do. This is not meant to scare you. It is meant to wake you up. Because the flip side of this is equally true and equally powerful. Every time you start, even for 2 minutes, even badly, even imperfectly, you are carving a different pathway. You are training a different brain. The ambitious person inside you, the one who made the list and bought the notebook and wrote the plan, that person is not a fantasy. That person is a future version of you whose brain was trained by different daily decisions. The only thing standing between you and that person is not talent, not time, not resources. It is the next 5 minutes. Now let's talk about what actually separates the lazy ambitious from the ones who break through. And to do that, let's look at real people. Not celebrities, not billionaires with ghostwriters and PR teams. Real people whose stories science has actually studied. In a landmark study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, researchers followed 2 groups of people with identical goals over 6 months. Both groups wanted to start exercising. Both groups felt motivated. Both groups had made the decision to change. The only difference was this. One group was asked to write down exactly when, where, and how they would exercise, not a vague intention, a specific implementation. I will exercise on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. in my living room for 20 minutes. The result was staggering. The group with specific implementation intentions was 2 to 3 times more likely to actually follow through, not because they were more motivated, because they had removed the moment of decision. Their brain didn't have to choose in the moment. The choice had already been made. This is what psychologists call an implementation intention, and it is one of the most powerful tools ever discovered for people with the lazy, ambitious brain, because your brain doesn't fail at the goal, it fails at the gap between deciding and doing. Close that gap with specificity, and the ancient resistance loses half its power. But let's go deeper. Because there is another layer to this that most people never reach. There is a specific type of person who lives in the lazy ambitious trap longer than anyone else. Researchers call them high self-monitors. These are people who are acutely aware of how they appear to others. They think about perception constantly. They care deeply about reputation. And here is the brutal irony. These are also the people most likely to avoid starting, because starting means producing something that can be judged, something imperfect, something that might not match the brilliant version living inside their head. So they protect the dream by never testing it. They stay in the planning phase forever because in the planning phase they are still potentially great. The moment they produce something real, that potential becomes evidence, and evidence can disappoint. Does that sound familiar? That paralysis is not laziness. It is self-protection at the highest possible level, and understanding it changes everything. Because you are not avoiding work. You are avoiding the moment of truth, and that moment of truth, however uncomfortable, is the only door that leads anywhere worth going. Research by Angela Duckworth at the University of Pennsylvania found that the people who achieve extraordinary things are not immune to resistance. They feel it just as intensely. The difference is that they have built what she calls psychological capital, a reservoir of small wins, small actions, small proofs of self. Every time they started when they didn't feel like it, they made a deposit. And those deposits compound, not slowly, rapidly, because each completed action makes the next action more likely. Your brain rewards follow-through with dopamine, not big dopamine from big results, small dopamine from small completions, and those small hits rebuild the machinery of ambition inside you. Now let's talk about the exact moment everything shifts, because there is a moment. It is documented, it is predictable, and you have felt it before, even if you didn't know what it was. Psychologists call it activation energy. It is the minimum amount of effort required to begin a task. And here is what the research consistently shows. The activation energy required to continue a task is dramatically lower than the activation energy required to start it. In other words, the hardest part is always the first 30 seconds. Always. Not the first hour, not the first week, the first 30 seconds. If you can survive those 30 seconds, if you can open the laptop, lace the shoes, say the first word out loud, the brain shifts, resistance drops, forward motion becomes self-sustaining. You have experienced this. Think about the last time you didn't want to do something but forced yourself to start anyway. Maybe it was a workout, maybe it was a difficult email, maybe it was cleaning a room that had been sitting in chaos for weeks. You remember how it felt before you started. That weight, that dread, and then you remember how quickly that feeling evaporated the moment you were actually in it. That is not a coincidence. That is neuroscience. Your brain literally changes its chemistry once movement begins. Dopamine and norepinephrine spike. Resistance fades. The thing that felt impossible becomes the thing you can't stop doing. The trap is believing the feeling before the start is the truth. It is not. It is static. It is ancient noise from a brain that was never designed for the life you are trying to build. So here is the framework. Not a vague inspirational suggestion, a specific science-backed sequence you can use today, right now, after this video ends. Step 1. Name the one thing, not a list. One thing. The single most important action that, if you did it today, would create the most momentum toward your goal. Write it down in one sentence, not a paragraph. One sentence. Step 2. Schedule the implementation. Decide right now, not later, right now, exactly when today you will do it, where you will be, and what the first physical action is. At 8 p.m. I will sit at my desk and open the document and write the first paragraph. That specific. That exact. Step 3. Shrink it to 30 seconds. Whatever you planned, find the version of it that takes 30 seconds or less to begin, not to complete, to begin. Opening the laptop counts, putting on the gym shoes counts, writing one sentence counts. The goal of Step 3 is purely to get you past the activation energy threshold. Step 4. Do not negotiate. When the time comes, your brain will offer you a deal. It will say, tomorrow is better, you're tired, you need to think more, just 5 more minutes. You will feel this offer arrive like a very reasonable, very convincing thought. Do not engage with it. Do not argue with it. Do not reason with it. The moment you start negotiating, the ancient brain has already won. Just move. 30 seconds. That is all you promised yourself. Step 5. Track the deposit. After you do it, even if it was small, even if it was imperfect, write it down, not in an app. On paper, something physical that your brain can register as real. You showed up. You made a deposit. That fact matters more than the quality of the work. That is the loop. Name it. Schedule it. Shrink it. Do not negotiate. Track it. Repeat it tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. Not until you feel like it, until you don't have to think about it anymore, until the identity shifts and the lazy, ambitious person becomes something else entirely. Because here is what the research on identity-based behavior change tells us, and this is the part that will stay with you long after this video ends. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Every person who has ever built something meaningful did not do it because they felt ready. They did it because they built a system small enough to survive their own resistance and consistent enough to outlast it. The ambition was never the problem. The gap between ambition and action was the problem, and that gap is not closed by wanting more. It is closed by moving more, by moving when you don't want to, by moving imperfectly, by moving anyway. You have been in that gap long enough. You know exactly what it looks like in there. You know the ceiling, you know the 11 p.m. staring match with your own reflection. You know the feeling of another week gone, another month past, another year almost over, and the thing still sitting exactly where you left it. The ambition inside you is not a dream, it is information. It is your nervous system telling you what you were built to do, and the resistance you feel, that friction, that weight, that paralysis, it is not proof that you can't, it is proof of how much it means to you. The bigger the dream, the louder the resistance. That is not a sign to stop. That is a sign you are standing at the exact edge of where your life can change. You have felt this pull for a long time. You have been carrying this thing, this goal, this idea, this version of yourself you want to become, and you have been carrying it with you everywhere you go, into every room, every conversation, every quiet moment. You know exactly what it is. You don't need more clarity. You don't need more planning. You have planned enough. You have thought enough. You have waited enough. The researchers are clear. The neuroscience is clear. The only path forward is through the first action. Not the best action, not the perfect action, the first one. Because your brain cannot feel momentum until it's already in motion. And right now, at this exact moment, you are closer to starting than you have ever been. Not because this video gave you information you didn't have, but because you are still here. You didn't click away. Something in you is already leaning forward. That lean. That is the beginning. The ancient brain that your ancestors used to survive the savannah is the same brain sitting in your body right now. It kept them alive by conserving energy, but you are not on a savannah. You are not hunting for survival. You are hunting for a life you chose, and that requires overriding a system that was never designed for ambition. It was designed for safety. You are not built for safety anymore. You outgrew that the moment you started wanting more. So here is what happens now. This video ends, and you will feel something, a flicker, a heat, a tightening in your chest that says, go. Your brain will immediately start to negotiate. It will offer you a reason to wait, and you will have exactly one decision to make. One. Not 1,000. Not a life plan. One decision in the next 60 seconds. Do you listen to the ancient system that kept your ancestors alive in a world that no longer exists? Or do you take one step toward the life that only exists if you build it? Name the one thing. Schedule it. Shrink it to 30 seconds. Don't negotiate. Go. You already know what it is. You have always known. You were not lazy. Your brain was just playing a shorter game than you deserved. It is time to play the longer one, starting right now.